Hailing frequencies open. Welcome back to Trek Retrek here on Geek the F Out. I am Captain Johnny.
And I'm Ensign Kayla. What are we here to talk about, Johnny?
Star Trek. Shocking.
Yeah, but which episode?
We're talking about Season 3, Episode 2, The Enterprise Incident. TVGuide.com says, Spock finds himself in the unlikely position of being wooed by a Romulan commander when the Enterprise is captured after entering Romulan space.
And we have a third guest.
We do.
Who all of a sudden shows up as soon as we start recording.
Yep.
Also, his third eye is open, aka give him a kiss on the forehead. So if you're curious why that's there or what that is, that's what it is. But yes, shall we get into it?
Yes. I will warn the audience, my allergies apparently are bothering me a lot right now for some reason. So if I'm doing this, I'm not sniffing Coke. My nose is itchy.
Well, there goes the first 5 minutes.
What? Coca-Cola? Like soda? What did you think I was talking about? No, I was talking about the stuff that Deadpool said Feige said he wasn't allowed to talk about.
And yet still mentioned it.
Still mentioned. Do you want to build a snowman?
Do you want to build a snowman? Okay. All right.
Don't do drugs, kids.
No. The Enterprise incident. We start out with McCoy is doing a medical log. And he is very concerned about Kirk and thinks he has increasing tension and emotional stress. And I'm like, so he's PMSing, essentially. Kirk directs Sulu to go into the Romulan neutral zone. And Scotty is very concerned when Uhura says this wasn't an order from Starfleet. Sorry if there are a lot of sounds right now. All of a sudden, they are surrounded by 3 Romulan ships to no one's surprise. And they get a FaceTime from the Romulan sub-commander Tal saying they must surrender or they will destroy them, and gives them 1 hour. And he's also very interested in Spock. And Spock thinks the Romulans have developed a cloaking device, and that's why Spock didn't detect them before. So Kirk goes over. Do you want to say something?
That whole thing is weird. Like, we know they have a cloaking device. We saw it in Balance of Terror. Like, they're acting like they've never seen the Romulan ships go invisible before. I think they meant to more accurately or more obviously say it's an improved cloaking device. Like, it wouldn't be susceptible to the tricks that they used to identify where it was last time, but they didn't do a good job of establishing that.
No, I think because we're not supposed to know, just like how most of the crew doesn't know what the true plan is here. So Spock, I think, is just saying that, even though he very well knows there is a cloaking device. Like, that's what they're going on that ship for. So, yeah, I think they just weren't very clear that it's like a more advanced cloaking device.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are a lot of sounds going on. So Kirk goes over their options with Spock, Scotty, Bones, and others. Bones gets mad at Kirk for ordering them into the neutral zone and leaves. The commander of the Romulans invites Kirk and Spock and will put 2 Romulans on board the Enterprise in exchange. Kirk and Spock meet with the commander, who is a lady, and what? Oh, and she speaks to Kirk alone and gives him a bullshit excuse Kirk gives her a bullshit excuse of a systems failure, and she totally calls him out on it, and I love her. And she calls Spock back in and says they've been keeping an eye on him since they're distant cousins with Vulcans. And I'm like, okay, interesting. And she tries to ask Spock what happened because he can't lie. But, you know, Spock, being good boy Spock, refuses to talk at first. Says how Kirk hasn't been himself for weeks and he ordered them across the neutral zone on his own accord, and Kirk goes crazy and tries to go after Spock, saying, "I'll kill you." And damn, Kirk's really lost it at this point. Well, at least that's what it seemed like, but obviously we find out what's happening later. And then the commander sends a message to the Enterprise saying Kirk is being accused of espionage, or / who ordered them into the neutral zone, and they got to follow them back to be processed. I'm not sure what I meant by that. Okay, bye.
The Romulans wanted the Enterprise to follow their ships back to the Romulan homeworld.
Yes, that's right. And Scott says he only follows Kirk's orders. I'm like, such a loyal man, and refuses any others. The commander talks with Spock about being Vulcan in Space Fleet and is just like, why don't you have any command? Like, you're very smart. You're a Vulcan. You know, why aren't you in command of any ship? And, you know, says, especially because he's a superior being, and says he should have his own ship. Yeah, I wrote it weird. But he calls her out for wanting the Enterprise, and Kirk interests himself trying to get out of his cell, and Bones beams over, and because he needs further help. And Commander invites Spock to dinner. Is she hitting on him? ? And they go see Kirk and Bones. Bones says he's not in any capacity to being in command, and he wasn't earlier. So the Romulan commander says, since he's unfit, then Spock must command the Enterprise, and Bones gets very upsetty spaghetti about this. Literally what I put in my notes. So Kirk goes to get Spock, and he uses the Vulcan death grip on him and kills him. Sure, Jan. Like, as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, that's, you know, besides plot armor, the Vulcan death grip was just, I don't know, I could tell it was made up. And Kirk is back on the Enterprise in sickbay, and Chapel notices him open his eyes, and that's when Bones fills her in that it was just essentially a Vulcan nerve pinch, and they actually are on orders from Starfleet, that, you know, Kirk isn't just doing this on his own accord. So Bones orders Scotty down to sickbay, where Kirk is now Romulan, and I said, oof, that eyebrow job is so bad. So bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised because they do a fairly good job on Spock. Like, why is it so hard to do it on Kirk? And then Commander and Spock arrive at dinner, and they have a drink. Kirk beams onto the Romulan ship, and apparently they automatically think he's a Centurion. And I get these ships are big, but I was, I don't know, really shocked that they just automatically accepted him as a Romulan. And then Spock and the commander have dinner, and she says how they will find a place for Spock if they wish it with her, ? And she says he will take some men onto the Enterprise and take it over, and then they will go to the Romulan base together. He says yes, but in an hour. Which I was like, okay, clearly there's a plan here, and he needs another hour. And then she goes and changes, and Spock tells Kirk where the cloaking device is, and she comes out in a dress, and they scissor Vulcan their hands weirdly, and then touch each other's faces weirdly. And It is the scene. It is the scene to behold, and you definitely gotta see it to believe it. That is for sure. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I think I actually have a note about that for... I don't. But it was in the... I didn't put it down, but it was in trivia. It was similar to, like... Spock's parents, when they did, like, the hand thing.
Yes.
I'm trying to find...
I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch, though.
I'm trying to find the relevant point. I know I read something about this.
I mean, we can get to it during...
Yeah, I can try to find
trivia.
it for trivia, because I didn't put it in the list.
Okay. So they then get blocked by the sub-commander saying transmission came from the room, and she realizes that they want the cloaking device because obviously it was Spock. Kirk knocks out a guy in the cloaking device room and takes it, then beams back to the Enterprise, but Spock isn't back yet, which, like, also the fact they can just take this cloaking device, like, it's not, like, heavily wired into part of the ship, like, it's just there to take. And the commander slaps Spock. She mad, has him record his statement, mentions the cloaking device is a threat to security. He's basically stalling. Kirk returns to the bridge. Meanwhile, Scotty works on the cloaking device. They beam Spock on board and accidentally hit the commander and fly away. Tal is about to catch them when Scotty finally gets the cloaking device on. And they give her quarters instead of putting her in the bridge. But why? Spock takes her there, says he feels like they formed a bond, ... And Spock comes back on bridge and tells Kirk his ears don't look good on humans and should go to Bones to do the surgery to go back to normal. And that's the episode. It is an episode.
Indeed.
What are your thoughts on it, Johnny?
Let me see if I wrote down anything that... No, nothing super. Like, Kirk being a hard ass is always fun to see. Like, you know, he starts off in, like, in hard ass mode and is like, oh, he's pissed about something. Because, you know, he gets pissed off.
Yep.
And then I just had to note about, you know, they already knew about the cloaks. This is one of the top rated episodes on IMDb. It's one of the ones that people like a lot. I'm curious if the TVGuide.com summary is what showed up in, like, was TV Guide around in the 60s? I would imagine.
I think so.
When was TV Guide published?
Tangent time. I was gonna say I could look it up if you want to.
1948.
Yeah,
so yes, it was definitely around. Like the summary, Spock finds himself in the unlikely position of being wooed by a Romulan commander. I wonder how many people, like, assumed, like, because it doesn't say whether it's male or female. Because I'm sure in the 60s, they don't expect the commander of a starship to be a woman. Because that's how they thought back then. Like, that's why...
And still think now.
That's why number one is not the first officer, because NBC didn't think that audiences would accept it. But now she's on Strange New Worlds. Because remember, she was Pike's first officer, obviously. But she was in the pilot, but not in the series.
Yeah. God forbid.
But then neither was Pike. So.
But yeah,
So yeah,
it's funny when they reveal her too. They're like, she's the woman commander.
yeah.
Like how they reveal her. It's definitely that vibe.
We've had. Yeah. I'm trying to think now, because we've had. Obviously, we've seen lots of women captains throughout the series, but I'm trying to think of leads. Obviously, Captain Janeway on Voyager was the first woman. There was a lot of jokes at the time about how, hey, they did a women. They're doing a woman captain as the lead of the show, but they gave her the starship named after a minivan.
What's the starship?
Voyager.
Oh. It's still a cool name.
Yeah. And then Burnham is captain on Discovery. If you want to count Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Captain Freeman. So that's 3 series out of... Well, wait. So there's 3, and then Strange New Worlds, TOS, TNG, DS9, Enterprise. It's 5-3, a lot better than I expected. It's almost even. We need 2 more shows with women as the captain. I'm not counting like Picard, because that's kind of a continuation of the Next Generation.
Okay.
Yeah, so 3-2, not bad. It could be a lot worse. Could be
not bad.
8-0.
Yeah.
It's not.
True.
But anyway, tangent time.
Anyhow. Tangent time. A relevant tangent time, though.
Relevant,
We're
yes.
still talking about Star Trek.
Yeah. I'm just looking to see if it had anything particular under...
I only really had one general note, and it was there was lots of shaky cam this episode. I don't know if you noticed that, because
I didn't.
You really noticed the shaky cam in Lost, so I wasn't sure if you would notice that or not. It's not on the same level as Lost, but it's there.
I wonder why. I did not notice it. I don't really have anything else. It's
okay.
It's a good episode.
All right.
It also doesn't help that I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
You could have rewatched it.
I could have. I didn't.
Naughty.
So that will bring us to favorite lines and moments. Mm-hmm. What do you have for...
I actually don't think... I don't have anything starred. So I don't think I have... Maybe when you say stuff it'll pop up, but I don't have anything starred, actually.
Kirk's like insane rampage. I'll kill you. Did he call him? Did he call him a traitor? Or Vulcan
I think
bastard?
he did call him a traitor.
Something like that.
No, I think it was a traitor.
Yeah. Just his and I say Kirk, but the faces Shatner made were just unhinged. It was great. McCoy says, I don't make house calls when she says he needs to go to the other ship.
Which, of course, as soon as it's Kirk, he's like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure.
Yeah, those are really... That's really it.
All right. Alrighty then.
It's interesting that what do you think about the dynamic between Spock and the Romulan commander? What do you think about the fact that the Romulan commander was a woman instead of a dude?
Mm-hmm. I think it was fine. Like, I didn't really think anything of it. It's interesting that we finally, you know, it's been mentioned before, you know, how much Vulcans look like Romulans. And so it was interesting to actually talk about their connection. And, I don't know, it seemed like she kind of, I don't know, like she knew he was smarter, but I was like, why are you so interested in him being a captain? Like, why do you care? You know? Like, I get it, her questioning him why he's not, but like she really wanted to like put him in that position. That's what they said. I don't know. It seemed kind of
She made a lot of assumptions, right? Like that he wouldn't be loyal to Starfleet, that he, you know, joined of his own volition.
Yeah.
That he would just readily turn and...
Yeah. Oh, no. I didn't really think too much of it. Especially because if you're supposed to know so much about Vulcans and you're trying to seduce one, yeah, I get he's half human, but like that's probably not gonna work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to say random, but I say random. It
arbitrary.
Seemed not arbitrary. The math wasn't mathing, I guess is the best way of putting it. Because if she's a Romulan, why does she give a fuck about anyone else that's not a Romulan? Even if it's a Vulcan and they're distant cousins or whatever. And B, yeah, she knows if he's half Vulcan and he leans more Vulcan in his ways, why is she trying to like seduce him at all? Like, is she just... Because it would be one thing if she wanted him on her ship, but it seemed like she really wanted him to command his own ship. But I guess maybe to command a ship for her. I don't know. Like, obviously it was kind of a way to like maybe get him to turn against, saying like, oh, you're so smart, why aren't you captain? Clearly they don't see how much better you are than the rest of them. Like, they're not treating you properly, essentially. But I don't know, it just seemed like a weird way to go about doing that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think it was that he would command a ship under her, because like she talked about, I think I remember her saying like he would have his own ship under her command. So he'd be like, because Romulans are weird, like their ranks are different, so like commanders are actually like somewhere sort of like the Federation equivalent of captains and admirals, and then there's sub commanders that are under commanders that are like commanders and captains. It's weird the way that, and this is only the
Dom commanders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I know it was, I'm not seeing, I swear I've read over the years things about like
like, do you have how it was received at the time?
Yeah, it doesn't, I swore that I used to read, I've read, it's not on Memory Alpha anyway, but I feel like I remember reading that, like, it was, I don't want to say a risk, but it was not something that was expected as far as, like, having the Romulan commander be a woman. I guess they got away with it because it wasn't one of the stars of the show. Like, it wasn't like... Mm-hmm. Like, because NBC said that they didn't want number one on the bridge because they didn't think that people would believe that a woman would be taken seriously as someone in command of a starship. But it's okay when it's the enemy alien race that we're only going to see in one episode.
Yeah.
But I thought I felt like I remembered it having like a legacy of, like, you know, this is the first time in Star Trek that we see a character that is a woman in command of a starship. Is this character who does not apparently have a name. Like, the credit only lists her as Romulan commander.
Yeah, I tried looking for her name too. Thank you, vacuum. Wait, you missed a piece. You missed one. Thanks.
Actually.
Oh, did you just find it?
No, but I don't think any of the Romulans, even through to, there's even some entries here about the animated series. None of the Romulan commanders, really none of the Romulans were given names. They were only ever referred to as their ranks. Interesting.
Clearly no one cares about the Romulans.
Well, the Romulans are, and I don't know if this was necessarily the case when they were writing and filming this, but the Romulans are considered to be experts at, like, covert operations and military intelligence. So, like,
are they
secrets and espionage.
Like,
I don't think so.
Is that why? Okay. I wasn't sure. I was like, is this supposed to be a metaphor for some country?
Not that I'm aware of. Aside from the ancient Rome, like, parallels.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
All right, well, that will do it for all of that. Favorite lines and moments and
yes,
whatnot. That will bring us to That's What They Said.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to go first, or should I go first?
I can go first. We agreed to simultaneous exchange.
Attend me.
Are you ready to exercise that function?
We have other inducements.
It should actually stimulate our conversation.
Are you coming, Jim? Yay!
Yay! Those are your That's What They Said for Season 3, Episode 2, The Enterprise Incident.
Okay. That will bring us to episode trivia from Memory Alpha, assuming my page works. The thing that I was looking for that we were talking about the like hand stuff and face touching. The first draft of the episode stressed the attraction between Spock and the Romulan commander based upon their common heritage, but not actually common heritage, but sort of common. That's a stretch. Originally, Spock was supposed to kiss the commander. The first draft script describes Spock as, quote, raining kisses on every square inch above the shoulder. But both Nimoy and Linville agreed they needed something different from normal human love expressions and suggested the hand contact instead. Nimoy, in fact, wrote a long letter... What?
Why? so weird, though.
Nimoy, in fact, wrote a long letter of complaint to Gene Roddenberry about this issue. In Star Trek Lives, Dorothy Fontana tells how she attempted to warn Roddenberry about fan reactions if Spock were to behave out of character. She insisted that Nimoy was right, that the pair's interactions should suggest, quote, an alien sexuality but not human passion. Even with Nimoy and Linville's restrained gestural contact, Fontana was flooded with letters from fans. Aware of the Pon farr and believing it meant Vulcans had sex only once in 7 years, which was Theodore Sturgeon's original idea, they complained that the scene was out of character. Years later, Fontana wrote sex scenes into Vulcan's glory, establishing that the Pon farr is only a fertility cycle and that Vulcans can have sex anytime.
I'm glad they changed that, because once in 7 years... Dear God, I would not survive. No, I would not. That's a lot to unpack there. Like, I get they want to show them showing affection in a different way because they're not human or fully human. But at the same time, I feel like I've seen this... things like this being done before, even between humans, and it doesn't come off as fucking weird as this shit did. Like, I will never forget this.
They did their job. It was supposed to be strange.
Yeah, I guess so.
So for the other things that I had pre-selected, in Fontana's first draft script dated 7th June 1968. Oh, actually, this makes me wonder. I want to look at the... So... Yeah. So Dorothy Fontana wrote the original script and did all the drafts up until the final draft, which was edited by Fred Friedberger. Always got to get the men involved.
That's when things go to shit.
So, in Fontana's first draft script dated 7th June 1968, it is explicitly stated that the Romulans have an, quote, improved, undetectable version of the cloaking device, which was a prismatic type of mechanism. It was stored in a laboratory waiting to be installed in the Romulan ship, rather than an already operational mechanism. Also in Fontana's original draft, both Kirk and McCoy are disguised as Romulans and steal the cloaking device. Although long thought otherwise from the very first draft, the script had the Romulans using Klingon ships. So these, the ships that we see are more commonly associated with the Klingons.
Honestly, I still get the Klingons and Romulans.
Yeah.
I just know they're both bad guys.
they're very similar in ways. The series had a lot of money invested in the Klingon model and needed to get its money's worth. This episode originally aired before an episode named Elan of Troyes, which is when we see the Klingon ships. So when the audience first saw these ships, they're being used by the Romulans. So these are Klingon ships, but because of the way the episodes were aired, the first time the audience sees them, they see Romulans using them instead of Klingons. But they're very similar, like, because the iconic Klingon ship is the Bird of Prey. The iconic Romulan ship is the Romulan Warbird. They're both birds. And the Romulans, in between now and the next generation, it's established that Romulans and Klingons are like really bitter enemies. They hate each other.
Even more than they hate humans?
Yes.
Wow. So, like, why don't we just team up with one of them and destroy the other ones?
Well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because we don't see any of it happen, but by the time the next generation airs, the Klingons are like at least allies with the Federation.
Okay. Good to know.
That was a big thing. It was a big thing with Cold War stuff. Roddenberry wanted to show that, like, even past enemies could be future allies, and, like, using, obviously, Federation as allegory for the U.S. and Klingons for Russia. So,
checks out.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I had for episode trivia.
Fascinating.
So that will bring us to spoilers without context. Since Ensign Kayla went first for... Excuse me.
Excuse. That's what they said.
That's what they said. We'll bring my spoilers without context up on the screen. I had to use Benedict Arnold because Spock's a traitor.
Got it. And what is happening in this wrestling bit?
That is Kevin Von Erich applying the Iron Claw, which is exactly what I thought of when I saw the Vulcan Death Grip, is the Iron Claw. It's a wrestling submission hold.
Very suggestive position, too.
Well, I mean, that's wrestling sometimes. You grab the person's head, your thumb your thumb and pinky or ring finger are on their temple, and you squeeze until they give up.
Squeeze.
And then the
Squeezy.
The glasses with the mustache for Kirk's disguise, because, like, I don't know how anybody didn't recognize. Like, yeah, he looked like Kirk with Romulan eyebrows and ears. Like, it was.
Yeah.
But
it was very obvious.
And then Mark Twain and reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated because everybody thought Kirk was dead. And he wasn't.
Perfect. Love that.
Yeah.
Love, love, love.
Thanks. So we will bring
Welcome.
Ensign Kayla's spoilers without context up on the screen. I'm curious about this first one because I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good picture of it, but it's the helicarrier from Avengers.
Oh, I thought it was some kind of alien because if you look at the like,
it's hard to get a good picture of it.
If you look at the gray
like,
part,
it's supposed to blend in.
Yeah, if you look at the gray like arch in the middle, I picture that as like the nose, and then the two things out to the side looked like eyeballs.
Eyes. Yeah, I could see that. That checks out. But yeah, because of the cloaking device.
Makes sense.
And then I feel like I've seen weirder things where people touch each other's faces, not just like because someone's blind, just because people were touching each other's faces. But the only thing that like really came up when I searched for it was Face Off, which I actually have not seen. So
okay.
But you know, I just as I was looking into it, I saw that there was a lot of creepy face touching. And then also for the cloaking device, I did an actual invisibility cloak from Harry Potter, the Sorcerer's Stone. And any excuse to use Chapel that I can, plus Ahura and why am I blanking on her name right now? Are you blanking on it too?
No. I'm just waiting to see if you
say it.
Oh,
no,
La'an.
Can't. La'an, there we go. But if anyone saw the like sneak peek into Strange New Worlds season 3,
you were gonna say Stranger Things.
I was. They have to turn into Vulcans, and I know, you know, Kirk is technically turning into Romulan, but like honestly, he could also be a Vulcan. So, just reminded me of that. So, and very apropos since that was just revealed at Comic-Con. Yep,
Indeed.
Those are mine.
Very good. Well done.
You're welcome.
Well done. So before we rank the episode, Ensign Kayla, why don't you tell the crew where to find us?
Yeah, you can follow us on social media on Instagram at GTFO channel. We post when we're gonna have our shows or new streams and whatever it may be. Sometimes funny memes in stories. So make sure to follow us there. If you want to email us, our email is channelgtfo@gmail.com. It is the reverse of our social media handle. And every Friday through the end of September, we are talking about Lost. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a season 3 review with Ralph and a special guest. So make sure to tune in for that every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. And yeah, every Thursday, Trek Retrek, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And I think that's about it for now. Make sure to smack that like, smack that subscribe, smack that bell icon. And thank you all for being here with us.
And if you have any interest in urban fantasy, I'm running a tabletop role-playing game on Diced Thespians over on Twitch. So check that out. Our Season 2 premiere will be this coming Monday. It was supposed to be this previous Monday, but we had to delay it. So Season 2, Episode 1, this coming Monday, August 19th.
Woot woot.
If you're in the future.
Woot.
I'm talking to you in the future. I see you. Go watch. Go watch our Lost coverage. It's all in the archives. It's all online, on demand, all the time. 24/7, 365. Entertainment at your fingertips. I don't know. Let's rank the episode.
Okay?
And Kayla, what do you think of how do you rank? And the chat, the poll will be going up shortly. How do you rank the Enterprise incident?
I'll give it a commander. I liked it. It was good. Love seeing a lady commander. Although kind of annoying that she has to like seduce someone, so it's like but you know, the plot was still intriguing, and you know, even though like I feel like as an audience we didn't know what was going on for longer than normal, and I kind of liked that. And yeah, that was good. There's some funny bits. Kirk going crazy is always fun to see. Yeah, I say commander.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it captain. I think it is one of the top rated episodes. It's the only top rated episode of season 3 on IMDb as far as like their star system. It's an 8.4 out of 10. Not the highest rated of the series. I can talk, I promise. But it's one of the episodes that gets talked about individually as like quintessential Star Trek. So I'm going to say
it is very quintessential, but I feel like there are definitely episodes that are better.
Yeah. And we will see what the chat says. Okay. That does it. Wraps it all up.
What's happening next week?
Oh, right. Jesus. I'm off my game today. We took too long of a break this time.
Yeah, clearly.
Our next episode is The Paradise Syndrome. IMDb.com says, trapped on a planet whose inhabitants are descended from northwestern Native Americans, Kirk loses his memory and is proclaimed a god, while the crippled Enterprise races back to the planet before it's destroyed by an asteroid.
Sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right, well, until next time, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.